For fuck's sakes, let's get this started.
5 years later.
Well, actually, 5 years later would be September the 22nd, but whatever.
Thanks, James. Welcome back to another episode of the Bunker Project. It's been 5 long years, and we're back for another show. And this is episode number 164, although technically there's more, because we did bonus episodes and several unpublished episodes. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is a long-awaited episode of The Bunker Show. We're going to start off like we normally did back in the day with a roundtable introduction, and we're going to start with Randall.
Start with me.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to say, what have you been doing for the last 5 years? Very, very short, summarized summary.
What have I been doing for the last 5 years? Pretty much the same thing I've been doing for the last 25 years. Still doing accounting. More cloud-based now than we've ever been. So everything's, even our tax software now is going to be cloud-based. So we won't have to, we're looking at probably having remote working in the next couple of years, maybe sooner. Get rid of the office, have no office, have everybody work from home. So that's kind of where it's going. The accounting industry has changed immensely in 5 years. It's all going using AI, and there's software now that can do basically a year-end review for you and tell you what you need to find, what you need to fix, and all that kind of stuff. So, but prices aren't coming down. If anybody thinks it's going to get cheaper, because the software is doing most of the heavy lifting. But then we still have to do a lot of stuff, too.
Randall still needs to get paid.
I have to make some money. Fuck, I got to... It costs a lot of money to run a business.
All right. Next, we've got the German Maven.
Yeah, I was asking about that, if you're still using our names, right? We had a German Maven, I think Gaming Maven and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
The Number Cruncher Maven.
What I have done in the last 5 years, still working as a social media journalist, but I grew up a new business as a German teacher for foreign languages to teach people who came into our country, because we had, Europe had a lot of challenges the last years, and so I try to do my best to join and help people to learn the language and history and the traditions, and so I'm now working for a university as well.
And what are you doing to help Brexit?
Actually, the Brexit is not a good topic right now over there, because, like Germany, we try to keep them, and it will be a lot of changes, mainly for Ireland, because there's where all these companies are sitting, like Facebook, and it's like the European Silicon Valley. And it will change a lot when yes, but it will. Yeah, but when they're going out, the Brexit, the London companies want to move all to Ireland, and then it's getting complicated.
Northern Ireland. Well, Ireland actually will unite in the next probably 5 years.
Yeah.
I
don't think so.
It's
still. Yeah, but
difficult.
I'm doing well, though, and I'm really, really excited that you guys reunioned today.
Yeah, and you're the reason why, right? Because
yeah,
you came
thank
here
you.
And you said you
thank
wanted
you
to get
so
together,
much
and we said, let's
for
do a
having
show.
me. And thank you for this amazing time, 2011. You gave me like a small welcome, friends, family over here. So thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.
Didn't you publish a book?
Which one? Yeah, I published a children's book. Yeah, thank you. Just forgot. In 2015, actually. Yeah, but sometimes life is so overwhelming. So I published a children's book. I sent some copies to you, right?
Yeah, it was good.
What was it called? What was it about?
So it was called, I don't know the English title anymore, because in German it was about the sun. And it was just a small tale about friendship, a sun, the wind, and the clouds sticking together as a group. And sometimes this group fits and sometimes it doesn't fit. So it's all about friendship. And thank you for reminding me more. So, good. To Margaret.
I think I got it.
No.
Oh, I don't? Okay, past 5 years, BC Insurance Gal has now gone to the dark side and has a real job. Still in insurance, doing insurance services at an ultra high net worth financial management firm. But yeah, other than that, traveling. And yeah, enjoying life.
Cool.
And I have not written any books.
Well, you used to write some books under a pen name.
I did write a book under a pen name, yes.
Yeah. Several, didn't you?
A few.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're out of date now, so I took them down.
Were they romance novels?
No, it was a how to online date novel.
Yeah, that's a romance.
Oh, same dip.
No, it was how to romance or how to do something novel, but anyway.
You literally just said romance.
Whatever.
Romance.
Okay, so next, moving along.
Hey everyone, it's Stephanie Michelle Scott here. So wonderful. Good old Wildfire Effect Consulting, and quite honestly, the last 5 years haven't changed all that much. I'm still consulting. I'm still mostly doing personal brands for people. I think the only big change in the last 5 years is instead of doing like one-off full campaigns for individuals, I'm finding it a little modular, being contracted by agencies and things to do the parts of what social media is about. But my God, you guys, amazing seeing each one of you. This is such an amazing thing.
Yay.
Awesome. Hey, this is Paul the Rock God Maven. I'm back. I'm still doing my karaoke every week at Shenanigans, across the street from where the bunker was almost. And life's about the same now. I tried to retire. I kind of went into semi-retirement for a few years, but this year there's so much work out there. I got people beg me to go back to work, and I was stupid and accepted. So
Do you still go to Mexico a lot?
I do. I'm going in another month from now. I'll be there for a few weeks. Mazatlan, Mexico, and my world tour, hanging out on the beach, and 30th consecutive year in Mazatlan, Mexico for me this year. So it's a big one. And it's great to see everybody. I'm shocked. I did a list of all the people in the podcast and that I knew, and like 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 12 showed up here, and it's awesome to be back. Nice to see all the friendly faces.
Sweet. Oh, I got my
And
own.
Bob's up.
Hello. All right, I'm doing this without a headset, but who cares? What the hell have I been doing? I got a studio that we're playing in right now. I'll, for you guys that are watching, I'll spin it around so you can see it. A lot of the same stuff, plus the photography thing. The coolest thing I've done recently was I was on assignment for Yahoo Japan, which doesn't sound amazing, but Yahoo Japan has 60% of the market there, and Google has 10. So it's like shooting for Google. And we did a really, really cool thing on Sony. So I got to go inside the Sony building and talk to the guys that built the Spider-Man movie. That was kind of cool.
Cool.
Shot them. 4 days of shooting. They had an editor from Japan flew in, and the writer from New York flew in. So it was kind of like an international thing, and I drove them around, had a great time, blew their minds, so they're going to see if they can do another story. Other than that, shooting beautiful women, making them look great, fighting with clients, getting to do the things I want them to do. So basically the same thing as I was doing before.
Yeah, we jumped right into the roundtable at the beginning, and I didn't bring up that we're actually recording this not in the Bunker Bar, but in Bob's studio.
Yeah.
His photo studio in New Westminster.
West Coast Photo Studio.
And we're not drinking the Brewmaster Black beer, but Bob and I picked up just next door. We picked up
S&O.
Yeah, Steel and Oak Dark
West
Lager, and it is very similar to the black beer that we used to drink. And and it is brewed right here in New Westminster. Oh, and
Yeah, long
Margaret
black beer.
is she's got a nice big bottle of Hoyne Irish Stout from Victoria. Sweet. Hey, before we move on to the next person in our roundtable discussion, I'm going to bring in one other person who came in remotely, wanted to say hello.
Hey Mavens, it's Norm. It's been too long to catch up. Anyways, welcome back, and I hope you guys have a great show, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, bye.
All right, Norm. Norm was our only voicemail feedback. No, actually, we used to get
called in once.
we used to get other people that called in, but Norm was the most consistent every week calling in. And when I told him we were doing this, he said, "Give me the number. I'm going to call in." And he'll be back later in the show as well. All right, moving on to...
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed he didn't have like
movie.
3 questions.
He's got a question. Just not now. It's coming.
Oh, of course he did leave more than one voicemail. Of course he did. Okay, so I hope you all are ready to be jealous. 5 years. I got a cat. He's on Instagram. He is an influencer on Instagram, under 100 followers, and his profile is occasionally updated. And that's about it. I work the same job. I live the same life. Just getting her done.
And living downtown.
What's your name?
Marcel.
The movie Maven.
You were the moo.
I was the moo.
James just froze.
Yeah, I think James.
Oh, yeah, James and Ken are frozen. So hopefully they're unfrozen by the time it's their turn. So
Oh, there you moved a bit.
let's move on to Satomi.
Oh, hi.
By the way, Satomi was not the first person to join the Bunker Project.
Yeah.
That was Allison Bannister, I believe.
Was I really the second?
But you were I think literally the second person to come to the meetup after we started it.
Yeah.
I think you were there for episode 2.
Yeah, and I came because I wanted to do a Talk Art to Me podcast. I did one and never did get to finish it, but I have co-founded the West End Art Society in the last 5 years with John Hewson. He's the two of us, and we've done a vision for the arts and culture for the West End, and now I'm really glad that a younger generation has taken over and is really running with it. And we have an art market at Jim Diva Plaza. We have a yearly music concert at Alexander Park, if anyone's familiar with the West End, of course. And yeah, and so I've just been enjoying life and going to Thailand. In fact, my friend is right now working on my website. It's called Wow, Wealth of Wellness, and I'm just going to be talking about all the things that I love, all my products that I love, my nutritionals. What else? I've got crypto gold-backed currency, and that privacy is now the new order. Cell phones on the blockchain. Yeah, so just doing things, but it's more just really enjoying what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm in my senior year now, and the next 10 years are really going to be very active. Everything's converging for the best. So thank you, the Bunker, too, because you really kind of brought me up to date on all the technology, and I was kind of a little behind, and I feel kind of more like I'm with the newer generation, if you want to call it that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And now, Bonnie, the Twitter maven? Or did you change you were originally the Twitter maven, but I think you changed just to
I don't use Twitter all that much these days. Mostly you can hear me swearing on Facebook. And
yes, I've seen you talk about the transit in Burnaby.
Uh-huh. I moved to the burbs. Yeah, that was fun.
Don't forget Trumpy.
Yes, anything you want to know about U.S. or Canadian politics, just follow me on Facebook, because I have views on everything. Other than that, I'm sort of semi-retired. I had a heart attack, so yeah, that wasn't fun. And when I was done with that, I more or less retired, but I am working on a project with online education. So like real online education with courses and lessons and assignments, and so it's quite interesting. And we're about halfway through that. What else? That's about it.
So Ken? You there, Ken?
Oh, okay. And that's me now? Oh, okay. Pretty much retired. 5 years ago, I was still working at CTV part-time, and a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I guess, decided to leave that completely. And now I'm just, I've been teaching at BCIT for the last 7 years or so, and still doing that and having fun doing it.
Cool. And are you doing a podcast right now too?
No, I'm not doing I'm teaching podcast. I'm not actually doing one, no.
Cool. So you can, Norm has another question later about podcasting, so you can chime in on that one too.
Okay.
All right. And the gaming maven.
Oh yeah, I guess that's me. 5 years. Well, I've done a lot of weird stuff. Yeah, so I mean, in the last 5 years, I've lived in India, I've lived in Africa, I've lived in England, and then I came back to Canada. I got married, well, I got engaged, I got married, and then I got divorced. And just been making wicked video games like VR projects and mobile games.
And you're living in Calgary now, right?
Unfortunately, I'm in Calgary right now. But actually, fortunately, Calgary's pretty sweet. So
Calgary's nice. There's a lot of nice people there.
Calgary is sweet.
Yeah, there's good beef and good beer. I'm drinking Village Blacksmith in honor of the black beer that we used to drink in the Bunker Project. So,
nice.
You know, I owe it to Bob and Andrew for increasing my love of black beer. So.
Yeah, because you needed someone to encourage your love of beer.
Yeah. Well, you never drank her.
Well, he didn't. He drank the pale beer before that.
Oh, and the other great thing is in the last 5 years is Canada legalized marijuana. Woo!
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, now it's not cool.
Yeah.
So depressed.
All right, thanks, James. And that leaves...
one more thing. You know, James, have you ever thought of resurrecting your Doing Dishes podcast?
You know what? Doing dishes with James was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It was a hangout.
You have like a million people following on YouTube right now.
I totally forgot about that.
It was a video hangout. Yeah. Yeah, there was that one, and there was the Cookie Monster podcast, which was quite interesting.
If people watch video games, they might as well watch somebody
use my puppet, but unfortunately.
And you were regular on the craft beer hangout too.
Yeah, it was a good.
Yeah, no, we got to back up here. Cookie
Yeah,
Monster
it was a regular
podcast.
craft
What?
beer hangout.
Cookie Monster podcast. Explain.
So I went on to this old thing called Airtime. It was like Omegle or whatever, and I would talk to people using my Cookie Monster puppet that I found in a garage sale one time, and it was always quite fun. And it was something that was different. Doing dishes with James was definitely more me, and the Cookie Monster podcast was definitely more about the cookies. And
so, hang on, you're calling it a podcast, but it wasn't really a podcast.
Well, right? It was a video chat. I was using a puppet, and unfortunately, my ex-wife got the puppet in the divorce, so I no longer have it. So,
right, but
she stole that. Well, she didn't steal it. She had the luggage that had the Cookie Monster puppet and my Yeti Snowball microphone. So
what you were technically doing was a webcast, right?
Yeah, basically I was doing a webcast, YouTube live, I guess, in a way. Thing, yeah. So Dishes with James was way more different, but...
yeah, I remember that one. That one was really cool.
You would just do your dishes, and you get people
from all over the world joining you, watching you do your dishes and talking to you.
And he was pretty baked, too.
Well, there's a big thing in Korea about watching people eat. There's a
that gorgeous little girl that eats 16 pounds of stuff. It's ridiculous.
Like shit.
And the next time you see her, she's still skinny.
Oh, I know. I don't know how she does it. She probably pukes it all
up
after.
Asian. It's the Asian gene, right? Just eat all you like and nothing
They just
happens.
Can't drink.
That's true.
Yeah, but they can't drink, so I know. I'd rather be able to drink.
Cheers.
So, Andrew.
All right, so that leaves me. In the last 5 years, I've been still doing the telecom thing, selling phones and phone systems and internet and blah, blah, blah. My kids are getting big. They're playing soccer. They're doing...
How many do you have now? 17, was that? All twins?
The square root of 9.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay, somebody's going to K-12.
So yeah,
Bob's got the calculator.
So the girls
out.
are actually my daughter, my 2 daughters. We were messing around and recording like kind of a fun little podcast that we weren't gonna publish. And then one day, my daughter Maeva, she said, "Papa, let's do a podcast." And so I said, "Okay." So we went in and we started doing it. And I said, "What do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to do the Frozen podcast," because she's a huge fan of Frozen. And so we did it. And I've got a little clip. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Okay, so here it is. How many times have you seen the Frozen movie?
A lot of times.
Like how many do you think?
I don't know.
Like 100 times?
Yeah, 100,000,000 offensive.
100,000,000 times?
100,000,000 offensive.
What does offensive mean?
That means a lot.
It means a lot?
Yeah.
100,000,000 offensive.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot. Wow. So that means that would qualify you as a Frozen expert, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who's your favorite character? Elsa, you said, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
I think you need to do that for real and have it out there.
You should. That's what you do. You get a million fans of that.
I've never seen it before.
Met the characters
Yes.
from
Oh, really?
Frozen
Yes.
when we were in Disneyland.
Yes, actually, their nanny went to Disneyland and they did a little video of Elsa and Anna saying hello to them. So it's kind of neat. But yeah, so we might actually do that one. I don't know. But later I said, because then she started talking about Moana and all these other and Paw Patrol and all this.
She had a digression?
Yeah, she did. And then I'm like, well, you can't call it the Frozen fan podcast if you're going to talk about all this other stuff. So what are you going to call it? And then she said, without like skipping a beat, she said, the Stars and Flowers podcast.
Oh, nice. And she's only 5.
Yeah, almost 6, but yeah. So that's it. That's what I've been up to.
Life's good.
Awesome.
And I've been thinking about doing another podcast, just like a good news podcast, just highlighting all the good news, because all you see on
There's such a thing?
TV is bad news. And if you go to sites like humanprogress.org or I think there's one called the Daily Optimist, and there's a whole bunch of sites that actually are showing that the world is actually getting better, not worse.
Oh yeah,
and
much safer.
There's a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of good things, and all we see in mainstream media is bad. So I'm thinking of doing that.
Well, podcasting seems like a really interesting kind of thing right now, because I've had 3 of my clients that are into personal branding asking me if I can somehow put them up in a line in a podcast, or simply taping with the purpose of creating a podcast later. So I think it's becoming, well, it was always
normal.
popular, but yeah, it's getting a little normal.
I don't offer it anymore. It's so normal.
There's a lot of people are actually like sales organizations are actually using it as networking to, if you want to get in front of a client, if you call them and try and pitch them something, it's a lot more difficult than saying, come on my podcast.
Yep.
So then you get them on the podcast, you start the relationship, and it's just a way to break the ice and get your foot in the door. So, Ken, are you guys there?
Yeah, we're still here. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to play another voicemail feedback from Norm.
Oh, good.
Norm again. Here's a big question to open up with. What's the future of podcasting? I noticed that there's tons of different shows that are aggregating onto sort of companies and such. Is that the future? Is it going to be subscription based? Anyways, that's just a thought I had, because I noticed a lot of people are asking for money and stuff like that, donations, and it costs a lot to make a podcast. Anyways, just a thought. Thanks. Bye.
Let's start with Ken.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned actually. There's quite a few big sort of podcast networks happening out there, and I'm kind of concerned that it'll go the way of television and lose its kind of independent streak, and you can listen to the funky stuff any way you want, and a lot of the networks are just kind of, pulling a lot of stars and this and that. And I'm just a little afraid that it's going to get too commercial and just go like television.
Or like commercial radio.
Or commercial radio, yeah.
Marcel.
Okay, so to a degree, it absolutely is heading in that direction, because when you look at the mainstream press, things like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend or the Ron Burgundy podcast, that's what gets all the attention, and they're super popular and they make a bunch of money. But like the scrappy side of podcasting is still 100% a thing. Like there's a ton of podcasters out there that they make their living off of Patreon, or it's kind of like a second job. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, if you're making good content and you can find a niche audience, it doesn't matter if the big boys are doing their thing with their big money. You can still make a little bit of money, or as much as you need, just by producing good content, because the people who like your content will throw money at you. So like, I don't think the independent streak is going away. I think there's just more of a mainstream tilt to it as well.
I agree with Marcel, but I would add to that also that once the people who are the indies who are putting out the good content, they'll be wooed by the quote unquote networks.
Well, a lot of that is happening too.
Yeah.
Because like you'll see a pod, like a Star Trek podcast. There's one, I don't know what it's called. Darn it. There's a Star Trek podcast where basically they were their own thing, and now they're under the umbrella of like a network, but they're still producing the same show, and they still have their own Patreon too, so it's kind of like double dipping, but whatever. But it's yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that it really stays like that. I just meant that I was a little concerned, not overly concerned, but I just don't want it to get too crazy there.
So we've covered the networks like the Podcast One and Gimlet and NPR and all the different networks that are kind of trying to establish themselves in podcasting and kind of dominate. But what about Himalaya and Brew and what's the other one? What's that?
Oh, what about
Luminary. Luminary is what I was trying to think. That are actually, their business model is to be the Netflix of podcasting, to take the key, they're trying to get people like Joe Rogan and Mark Maron signed with Stitcher Premium. Actually, it was Howl, and then Howl was purchased by or merged with. They were part of Earwolf, which merged with Midroll, which bought Stitcher. Anyways, so yeah, WTF with Mark Maron is now part of Stitcher Premium. So they're trying to bring these people into these walled gardens. So that's what I don't like. That's what I'm worried about a little bit. But the indie podcaster is always going to be free, and as long as podcasting remains open, meaning that. Because there's the other side of the equation is that there's other companies that want to be the YouTube of podcasting instead of Netflix, which is everybody can start a podcast for free, but you're doing it on our platform, and we're not going to use the RSS feed anymore. So now when you get banned from our service, you're banned. You're gone. All your content is gone. Your subscribers are gone. But with podcasting, even if you get banned, like Alex Jones got banned from YouTube, he got banned from iTunes.
Didn't we ever get banned?
No, we never got banned.
No, we never got banned.
But anybody who subscribed to the RSS feed still is getting the content, and anybody who wants to get it in any podcast app can still put in his RSS feed and get access to his show. And as long as podcasting is tied to RSS, it's open and it's that's a good thing. So I think anytime anyone tries to change that, it's a red flag, and we should say no. But and I think as long as it's an RSS based, we're good.
So this is the Twitter Maven, and I think you've probably answered part of my question, and that is that on YouTube now, almost all of the YouTubers call themselves a podcast.
Which they are not.
Right, it's audio. So I'm
it's
video.
But video can be podcast. Video
only if it's RSS though.
But yeah, so that's the confusing part. So there's audio podcasts, there's video podcasts, and you can even do PDF podcasts or ebook podcasts. Any media file that is syndicated over RSS feed is technically, by definition, a podcast.
Oh, and I do have something to add to that point, because there are a lot of podcasters that are turning to YouTube because YouTube is more easily monetizable. So basically, they'll still have their podcast, but they'll also release their podcast with like a picture, and they'll release it as a video.
Yes.
Because the vast majority of their quote-unquote listeners will actually access the podcast through YouTube, and that's also where they make most of their money.
And that's actually kind of a controversial thing too in podcasting, in that a lot of like the podcast consultants or gurus or whatever you want to call them are calling that fake YouTube videos because people are going to YouTube to watch a video, but then they just get a static image. And I think it's okay though, because as a lot of people, they don't watch the video anyways. They just have it in the background and they listen to it.
I do that.
There's a lot of videos on YouTube to begin with where it's just somebody talking about a topic and they just edit together a bunch of crap so that they have something in the video.
Yes.
Like, there's no difference between that and a podcast. Like, there's music on YouTube. People will go and put on a YouTube playlist, and technically it's a video, but they're listening to music.
But the really
so
good,
what's the difference? Who cares?
But the really good YouTubers, they're not doing that. They're actually, they have B footage, and it's relevant. It's not just
like Joe Rogan.
It's not just a slideshow. No, Joe Rogan is a talking head. Yeah. So talking head videos are there's nothing added to it other than you get to see the person's expression and whatnot.
He does show some stuff sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
He shows. They play videos and screenshots and things like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
But like, if we're talking about like the independent streak with podcasters, any way you can get your content out there is fair. Like, how is it like quote unquote wrong if you're putting a video out on YouTube, but that's not audio? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
The argument against using the quote unquote fake videos is that they don't get as much engagement, and they don't get very long play, so it hurts you as a YouTuber. That's one argument. I don't know if I buy it.
Like, it hurts who?
No.
Because there are podcasters.
It hurts you as the YouTuber.
So basically, you're somebody who makes a real video on YouTube, so you're angry that somebody has an audio clip on YouTube.
No. I'm saying that it can hurt your channel if you put a YouTube video with just a static image and it's playing audio. That's
okay.
Now, I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that the people who are telling people not to do this are saying that it's not good for your channel to do that.
And it's all a matter of opinion, because like, if you are a podcast and you're just doing your podcast on YouTube, that's good for you.
Yes. Actually, you know what the best way to do it?
Talk about
Joe Rogan does it the best way, I think, is he's got his entire episodes on 4-hour podcast episodes on YouTube video with the talking head and also showing clips and whatnot. But he also takes little 5-minute, 10-minute clips of specific topics within each episode, and then kind of links them back to the original episode, which is, I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, but that's
But even with Joe Rogan, though, I still listen to him audio only. I very rarely watch him on YouTube.
Yeah, me too. I subscribe on audio, and occasionally I'll.
Occasionally I watch the YouTube video, but not very often. If on the audio podcast he says, "Oh, you got to see this," then I may go and just watch that 2-minute segment rather than the whole show.
Because with Rogan, because his episodes are so long, I only listen to the ones when I see a guest that I'm interested in. But then if there's a topic within the episode that I want to get, but I don't want to listen to the whole 3-hour episode, then I'll look it up on YouTube and just watch the 10 minutes instead of the 3 hours.
So what I also was referring to is some of the YouTube videos where there's two hosts, and they just talk the whole time. Mm-hmm. And they often call themselves podcasts.
Well, they might be a podcast,
right,
but in order for it to be a podcast, they have to not only publish on YouTube, but then they have to take that video, put it in another hosting account, attach it to an RSS feed.
Yeah. I realize that.
And then it has to go out to iTunes and all the other podcatchers.
So my other question is the YouTube and the expectation of video, even if it isn't very interesting, it's two people talking, is that going to bite into the podcast, the audio market?
So there's, I think it's the Edison Research. They put out a report called Share of Ear. every couple of months, and they show like who's getting your share of your and they put out a controversial comment. It wasn't published on in their report, but one of their presenters said that that YouTube is the best place to discover podcasts. But then everybody's like, show me the data, because iTunes is number one, Spotify is number two, and they couldn't show the data. It's
so my question is, because I burnt out on podcasting, I listen to 4 shows. That's it. I don't really listen to much anymore. You've always listened to way more podcasts than I have.
I've subscribed to like 60 of them or something.
Yeah, it's like you just can't listen to it all. So like I do WTF, and then I do Stuff You Should Know, and what's that one about the it's about science, really nice, modernizing science and stuff. So I only listen to 4 podcasts. So how many podcasts do you guys listen to? Like, how many do you subscribe to and listen regularly, like at least once a week?
I'm more on YouTube, actually, listening.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Now, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but also a lot of YouTube. But backtracking a little bit, I'm so sorry, Bob.
No, go for it.
But basically, it's becoming more and more of a common practice for people that have a podcast. They will also record a live show, and they'll put it on YouTube. And that basically just makes sure that their audience is higher. And where a lot of this whole, like, well, YouTube is number one, but where's the data? The podcasters are getting the data because they have all the analytics for who's watching their YouTube channel and who's listening to the podcast, which apps they're getting it from, this, that, or the other. And that's why a lot of podcasters are either putting a still image on YouTube, or they're also doing like a show on YouTube and they're calling it a podcast, because the audio version of that you can download as
exactly.
a podcast.
But some people are recording video shows on YouTube only and are calling it a podcast. And some people are saying, "Oh, I listen to this." Like people who are not podcasters, but viewers on YouTube are saying, "Oh, do you listen to the so-and-so podcast?" And then it's like, well, it's not a podcast.
Well, but you know what? If you can
it's
listen to it, then technically it's a podcast. You can still download a YouTube video, can you not?
Yeah, it's the populace basically changed, like the Hoover and stuff like that. Podcast has become, it means anything that people like to listen
really,
to.
we're just getting our panties in a twist over semantics.
Well, we're getting it is
semantics,
semantics, but it's also the actual definition of the word, and and there's a reason why there's definitions. So we can all be on the same.
I think we need to
page.
loosen the definition to avoid patent trolls.
I think podcast needs to become like gender, right? It's very fluid.
But also, as far as the whole corporatization of podcasting, like, it's fine. Like, right now we're in a situation where we have, like, terrestrial television, right? And it's dying on the vine. And then we have all these streaming services that are coming up and this, that, or the other. Is it going to kill traditional TV? No, because there's still enough of an audience for it. Is it smaller? Is it more niche? Yes. And more choice is not a bad thing. Like, if a certain podcaster makes enough money that they get bought out, and now you have to, like, pay $5.99 a month to, listen to their thing, they've earned that, and their audience is willing to pay for it, so that's good. And you can still find content elsewhere. It's not going to kill traditional podcasting. It's just there's more choice, and there's different ways of monetizing it. It's very interesting.
I have a question.
Definitely not.
Can you monetize podcasting?
That's the
like
secret,
YouTube?
That's the big question.
So yes, you can, and there's different ways of doing it. There's Anchor. Was purchased by Spotify. And it's a free podcast hosting service that you can sign up for. And you can enable monetization, and it's kind of like YouTube, same kind of thing. But the only thing is that, the people who have smaller audiences get like, they get 5 cents for 5 episodes.
Like
it's even worse than YouTube.
Wow.
But to monetize a podcast that way with ads, you need 50,000 monthly subscribers.
And a lot of the YouTube people, didn't we used to just call them vloggers?
Yeah, but vlogging's not cool anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, there's Patreon, and there are advertisers that advertise on podcasts and stuff. And once you get above a certain number, you can kind of root some of them out. And a lot of them, even like on their Patreon, they'll be like $400. That's my advertising price. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, Patreon. That's a good point, because Patreon is a really good option for podcasters.
Yep.
The average podcaster, forget it. You're not getting an ad deal, okay? Don't even think about it. But there's about 50 other ways to monetize a podcast. You can sell your own products. You can sell
merchandise.
If you want to do like ads, you can set up affiliate accounts. You're not going to make a lot of money, but you can make a little bit. And you can create, if you have any kind of expertise and that's related to the podcast, you can create courses and sell courses.
I think for some like podcasters, vloggers, and stuff like that, it's merchandise. I follow Joel and Leah, who are from the UK, London, and they've traveled the States and all over the place, and they sell merchandise. They got T-shirts and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, merchandise is good. Some people can really make that work.
Beer? Does anyone sell beer?
Yeah, I know.
I don't think you can legally do that.
You could probably endorse it.
Well, that'd be our stick.
Wasn't Okanagan Springs Black Beer like a sponsor kind of the podcast?
Oh,
the
yeah.
Project?
Yeah.
Now,
The two of us.
I have always been curious as to
talked
how
about
that
that.
worked. Was there money involved, or did they just like let you drink the beer?
Here's free beer.
So we did that. We they were an unofficial sponsor for like years, and we just kept saying they should be a sponsor because we promote them so much. And then finally, I was trying to remember her name.
Brewmeister, right?
Yeah,
and then
we
we chatted with them, and they said, "Oh yeah, we can give you free beer."
Yeah,
actually, the bar asked that
it was. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the bar manager. Anyone help me out with that?
I can't remember her name.
The bar manager at the bunker. Her last name's Riley, I think.
Well, we got half of it.
But I'm trying to remember her name.
At least we got a last name.
Anyways, she we Bob arranged for our 100th episode. He arranged for all this swag from
so much swag.
So he went directly to Okanagan Springs, and they delivered all the stuff. Then she came in, the manager, and she saw all the stuff, and she called her rep and said, "What the heck's all this stuff? Why'd you send it? We don't need this." And then they came and took it.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we showed up, and all the stuff was gone. And then Bob blew his
yeah, somebody's head got taken off.
Bob just flipped out, and then she said, "Well, if you wanted to be sponsored by Okanagan Spring, why didn't you just ask me?" And then after that, they were paying for Bob and my beer tab.
They drowned us in beer
for the rest of the bunker show.
Oh my God,
that's just
so
terrible.
much beer though. It's killer.
That's okay. We had Georgia math.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
yeah.
Georgia was a very generous bartender.
No, we also had our first sponsor.
Well, she was also
was,
drunk as fuck most of the time.
Yeah, but our first corporate sponsor was
Wix.com.
Oh,
Wix.com.
yeah.
Yeah.
How is Aaron doing?
Eric's in Toronto. Is the one person we didn't reach out to. But yeah. They were amazing. They did the T-shirts, which I still have some.
Yeah, me too. I still wear it.
I can't remember. We had some money, which we blew on equipment in about a day. But it helped.
Yeah, so podcasters can monetize just like we did. We didn't really monetize, but and any little bit helps. But we had someone within our community that decided to. He had a little bit of a budget for sponsoring local events, and he sponsored the Bunker Project through Wix, and
it was great.
Yeah,
he's not with Wix anymore, though. I don't think. Is he?
No. He started. He was doing a what is it? A GoFundMe for a game that didn't.
An app for gamers.
It didn't fly.
App for gamers.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
But didn't take off.
No, but it's pretty neat. He's always saying instead of communicating virtually, go out and play a board game and play in person.
Great way to network.
Yeah.
Really good way. And there's some great gaming bars in this town. Like really, really cool. It's Stormcrow is like they've got like 2 in Vancouver, maybe 3 in Vancouver, and now they got 1 in Toronto. It's like 3 different bars in one place. I mean, it's super cool.
Oh, the Stormcrow is down the street from work.
Yeah, and you go there, and I'll have a Klingon blood wine, so you can really nerd out. It's wonderful. The only thing I get for podcasting is not monetization of the podcast, but a way to promote products and sell the products through education. And that's started a long, long time ago with a dentist, where their biggest, the thing that they had to save on was time. So if they had to spend 20 minutes every time somebody asked about a crown or a filling, they could make a podcast about all those subjects and then say, oh, listen to podcast episode 3, 4, and 5, and then get back to me. And then they would come in and say, oh, listen to your podcast, I'd like X. And then in like 1 minute, he could make, $1,200 sale.
Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember the name of that show, but he was a dental surgeon. And so it's complicated complicated procedures.
Yeah, the restructuring of the jaw.
Podcast FAQ.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so he
And that's big right now,
He decided to start that podcast because he was spending 45 minutes per patient saying the same thing over and over again. And so he did a podcast explaining each procedure separately in each individual episode. And then instead of getting on the phone with them for 45 minutes, he'd say, okay, listen to this file, this episode, and then call me. And then they already knew what they wanted.
Yep.
So it saved him
hours and hours and hours, which is thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's another way to
So it's a different
indirectly
type of
monetize a podcast.
yeah,
but the other thing
exactly.
too is that it actually he did it for that reason. But then other people who were interested in
the
procedure started listening, and then he got new clients from that too. So.
But is that really a podcast, or is that just education or training or something?
Well, come on. So a podcast can be educational. It can be inspirational. It can be entertaining.
Bullshit. Drunk Canadians.
It can be funny. It can be anything, right?
Absolute and utter bullshit like this one.
I mean, TV. It's just like TV. TV doesn't have to be the whatever, the Housewives or whatever. It can be
or YouTube.
It can be the Discovery Channel.
Look at Discovery, TLC,
TV Man.
Well, how about talk about the IGTV and all the other networks that are coming from social media that seem to be trying to be something else?
IGTV is this Instagram TV.
Oh, yeah. They're really pushing it.
My headphone, I can only hear half of myself. It's very strange. Y'all can hear all of me, correct?
Yeah.
All right, I'll try and wing it. IGTV, is that Instagram TV?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to say because, like, you see a lot of... Oh, my gosh, I can't do this. You see a lot of things, like, crop up. I can only think of the right-wing stuff, like NRA TV, Trump TV, where it's kind of like an internet kind of video kind of nonsense thing.
Ben
but
Shapiro.
It's so niche, there's it's hard to say. Like, I've never heard of IGTV, but I've heard of Instagram, so who knows what the future of that is.
Well, I think IGTV is really interesting because what they've done is figured out that most of us are accessing most of this information on mobile phones. And they were one of the first, if I remember, that decided that the platform would be accessible for mobile phones by changing the aspect ratio on it. So while we're used to seeing YouTube in kind of a more passive way, we're much more likely to understand and engage in IGTV because we're used to looking at our phone and talking to our friends in that type of ratio.
Nice.
So what is it?
Do you want to take on what IGTV is?
Well, no, not really. It's just it's the thing that I found interesting is with one of my clients, they post a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that, but they found out about this Instagram TV, and basically it's an Instagram network. But what was interesting is if you posted a video that was 3 minutes or less, it would get less playtime because they were promoting the longer shows. So you would do the small one as a promo, but then you would have a longer 5 or 10 or 15 minute video, and that one would get way more playtime because Instagram was pushing it more. It's like 2 months ago, so it might not work anymore, but it was a really, strategically, everybody's trying to go short, but what they should have been doing is going long to get promoted as much as possible in that platform. So as everything in the internet, it's evolving day to day or sometimes minute to minute, so it's very hard to be good at anything. It's very, very difficult to be good at podcasting or search engine optimization or anything like that because it's a moving target. And it's always been like that, and I don't think it's ever going to change because it's at the pace of technology. Later. And as things evolve and you can do more stuff, your website suddenly, if that becomes a trend, then everybody has to follow that trend if you're in the marketing game. So for me, my biggest struggle is how to keep abreast of what's happening, like right now, as in what happened today. So tomorrow when I chat with a client, I'll say, oh, and by the way, that thing I said we should really do next week, we didn't decide fast enough, so don't worry about it. It's dead. And now this is the next thing. And they go, but we've just spent a bunch of time and a bunch of meetings making this decision. I said, I know, and you're too slow. So you're either going to have to like pick up the pace or step away. And it really freaks them out that it's moving that fast. And a lot of times they won't believe me. And then 6 months later, it's like, we're getting no results. And I said, yeah, remember that meeting we had 6 months ago? It's still happening, guys. You're just 6 months behind now because I just stopped telling you because it was a waste of my time.
Well, that's the problem with technology. I mean, even in the accounting industry, it changes so fucking fast. It's like there's apps coming out constantly of different things, and and try to keep up and keep the pace. And to which ones do we use? Which ones don't we use? It's insane sometimes.
Well, I would say sometimes. I would say daily.
Well, yeah.
But what about people who just focus on one thing and do it really well? And do they need to jump onto every trend?
No, I don't think
like
so.
If you're a really good YouTuber, do you need to branch out and be everywhere?
No, because you can branch out within the same medium. Like with YouTube, you can do, let's say you have a great show with high production value, blah, blah, blah. It's a 17-minute show. Well, you can do a series of 30 seconds or 1 minute pieces that promote that particular show or promote the channel and blast those out. And then once you've got the content, then you just utilize it on different formats, like on Instagram.
Yeah, and also YouTubers, I'd never understood why YouTubers who are putting out all this great content don't also syndicate it on as a podcast. Because
it takes a hell of a lot of work to produce a YouTube video, man.
Yeah, but if you're already doing it, but if you've already done it,
it's simple. The money is in YouTube. They're making decent money off of YouTube. The money they're going to make off of podcasting, they don't see the value in it, because if you have a YouTube channel and you have a Patreon, you're probably doing okay. And so what's the point in doing a podcast too, where you're making pennies on the dollar?
Because here, I'll explain what the point is, because it doesn't, once you've done it, once you've published your video, you've already done it. You've done all the hard work. All you do now is you take that video and upload it to another hosting provider like Podbean. They've got an unlimited for I think it's $25 a month.
But
they've got an unlimited video hosting plan.
Well, the classic SEO formula: if you put the same content up multiple times, you get penalized by Google.
No. There's no penalization for syndicating podcasts.
No,
but I mean, if you're choosing a trendy topic, then that all of that sort of applies. But if you're doing something on an educational line, that has a lot more longevity than some of the trendier things. So if you choose something a longer subject or even a shorter subject, but it's educational, you can make that last, and it's gonna get a viewership and last over time.
So video podcasting is not nearly as big as audio podcasting. There's not as much of a market for it. But if you've already created the video and you're doing this on a regular basis, and all you have to...
I think the only reason an audio podcast goes to video is so they can sell the merch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's like if your passion is podcasting, you're already recording the podcast, so you can get extra money and probably more money through YouTube. But if your passion is making YouTube videos, the average person probably doesn't see the value in making a podcast. It's just extra work.
YouTube changed,
but okay, so here's
the
but let's clarify though.
Rules and a couple of years ago, and you just can't make the money anymore.
Podcasting?
Well,
you can't make the big money anymore.
You can, but you have to be like
huge.
PewDiePie.
Yeah, you really got to work at it.
Yeah.
The one thing I think people need to think about: where's your audience? If your audience is on YouTube, then that's where you need to be. If your audience is in Instagram, that's where you need to be. If it's podcasting, that's where you need to be. I mean, where is your audience? And if you're doing a lot of just like FAQ type videos, probably Vimeo is just as well as for doing that kind of thing that you're just pointing.
But Vimeo doesn't have the same discovery, though.
No,
Vimeo is more of a hosting. Platform.
But if you're just saying to like potential clients, or hey, watch this video or FAQ videos, I mean, I think Vimeo is, because the problem I had with YouTube and having videos on it is the fucking porn. I don't know why, but porn attached to my videos, and I had to take
it's
some
just
of them.
based on your viewing history. That's
Well, that's not my viewing history. That's not my viewing history.
That's what you
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. He forgot to turn the record button off the camera, and then he published it.
We need to unpack this a little bit. So, Randall, you make a video, okay?
Yeah.
And then you press play on the video, and now it's pornography? Like, what's happening?
No,
we need to unpack this.
So when I upload the video and then people watch it,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know how the ads pop up, right? Or it was always like porn-related shit that showed up on my videos for some reason.
That's Google.
Well, I know it's Google.
No, it's because your name is Crunching. That's why.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, but
Number crunchers.
Randall, the ads that pop up for you are not necessarily the same ads that pop up for you. The ads that pop up for you are specifically tailored to
clients
you.
had told me, like, why is all this porn shit showing up on your videos?
What you need to say to your clients is watch less pornography. No, it's that simple.
That's easier said
than
done.
It's that simple. Do you have any idea how many... Do you have any idea how often YouTube or Facebook tries to sell me cat toys?
It's like unless you're
they
a
gotta
porn,
watch less porn.
Unless you're a porn star, the lube is not a write-off.
I can just see. I can see that him calling up his clients and saying, "Listen, you got to watch less porn."
Well, no, it's like, do you understand why how advertising works? Like, the porn isn't attached to my video because of my video. It's attached to my video because of your laptop.
It's really basic.
I
The
know.
secret
But
is
it's still
if you're going to watch porn or anything you don't want other people to attach
private
to,
browsing.
Basically use the on Chrome
Incognito.
Incognito.
Yeah. That's
Private
what it was
browsing.
built for, right? So it wouldn't mess up your.
If you guys get a chance, you got to Google Mock the Week.
Oh,
and there's a private browsing little thing. Oh God, it's funny as fuck talking about private browsing.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, I had a boring question after all of that. So, is YouTube not sort of almost the king of search?
It's number
still?
2.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said in one podcast episode many moons ago, it is technically the number 2 search engine, but YouTube results show up in Google. Mm-hmm. And Google results don't show up in YouTube. So it's actually pretty... you get double bang for your buck by publishing on YouTube.
Okay, but if you're going to be discovered... so you're the latest. I'm now obsessed with knitting, so we're going to use that.
Oh, knitting's big, yep.
So, any kind of crafts. So there are 2 or 3 YouTube channels, and all they are is an ad to buy $99 worth of yarn, like skeins of custom designed yarn.
Yep.
That's what they are. This cheerful chick shows up, usually it's a chick, shows up and she's knitting away like mad, and the scarf that she does or the hat that she does is amazing, and then you find out you can't go to Michael's and buy yarn because all they have is crayon colors and whatever. So but when we do search, I'm now teaching knitting. Shows you how exciting my life is. So I'm looking at YouTube videos because lots of times they want to go home and sit there with their iPad and figure out what they're doing wrong. So we've searched and we've found some interesting people, and in fact I've actually bought yarn online from them because I did that search. Yep. And some of this stuff is like 2-3 years old. I don't even look to see how old the content is because there are some niches that are pretty much timeless, and you don't even want to know how much I paid for that damn yarn. Uh-huh. But if I go to Michael's or, whatever, I, up and down the sale aisle and figuring out which coupons, but from those YouTube videos, it's, who cares? Damn it, I want it.
Look at
you
the
want
person
it because you want to buy it from the person who is
made
providing you with the value.
The developer.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are other niches that are doing the same thing, and that's pretty much licensed to print money because all you have to do is figure out how you're going to get in, search results
and connect with the person.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you also have to be, cheerful as hell and, all that other stuff.
Well, they're super grumpy and an asshole, or super drunk.
Look at
the whole
Grumpy
thing is
Cat.
your audience will find you.
Right, okay,
You
whatever.
just got to be consistent.
But if it's going to be crafts for the most part.
Well, the drunk
drunken
show.
craft.
The grumpy knitter. Swearing as she makes mistakes. That would get my attention.
No, that's me.
I know. I'm saying, Bonnie, YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's the
You got to get grumpyknitter.com.
And that's like the basic concept behind Patreon anyway. It's just like you're basically going to give money to people that are providing the content that you like. And sometimes they, like for podcasts, they'll have certain podcasts behind a paywall because they know that people that are really engaged will pay for it.
Yeah, well, that's what community is all about, right?
Yeah,
well, there's several bloggers.
But podcasters traditionally podcasters that go behind a paywall, it's not their regular episodes. They do extra episodes.
Well, yeah,
like
they do it
premium
specifically
episodes.
for the Patreon. That's the whole point.
Yes, yeah.
But a lot of them I find are very specific about what's behind the paywall and what isn't, because certain things that people will want if they're listening to a kind of podcast that's about certain things will go behind the paywall. Anyways, I'll stop talking.
Yeah, so like a lot of podcasters, they do free content on their podcast feed for like the why you should do something, and then they sell courses on how to do it. So
Just
that's another
a
strategy.
newsflash here is the grumpyknitter.com is available for Bonnie. So.
Grumpy Knitter.
No, everybody wants to watch Susie fucking Sunshine. Yeah.
Well, have you ever watched The Drunk Cook on YouTube about this girl that gets completely freaking hammered and like she literally falls over and she's like 1, 2, 3 bottles of wine and she's completely pissed every single show. She's a young girl. So hi, how you doing? I'm just whoopsie. Where's my eggs?
Waiting for the Netflix show when it comes out about that.
Yep.
The Galloping Gourmet from the 70s.
Oh yeah. He was good. He get a little sauced. I love that guy.
And nobody wants to watch cheerful shows. That's like, that would be hella entertaining.
We can't hear you.
Sorry. That would be hella entertaining. Get it, Bonnie.
Right. Yeah.
Knit
and swear. Knit and swear.
Speaking of cool, I saw an amazing outfit of somebody knit an alien creature for their kid.
Yeah,
Did you
I saw
see
that.
that? Is that not cool?
Yep.
So, I mean, knitting is being slowly emerging as a cool thing to do because of the guys that do the graffiti knitting where they go and actually knit a whole street. They go out and they did the activist knitting where they'll do the trees and the parking meters and a car, and they'll go out at night and they'll cover a certain part of the town with knitting. And we're talking a lot of work here, but this is going on for like 10 years. So knitting is slowly emerging from the deep, dark side of
They're doing a lot of money. They, like in Germany, we have this crochet and knitting channels, and they're doing hell of money at social media. They have groups of like 50,000 joining them. Yeah, like I'm in a crochet group. We have 52,000 girls. Yeah,
No guys?
and 100.
I want to join that group.
Yeah, that's
Costumes is huge too. Crocheting Halloween costumes and stuff like that. That's
crocheting
like,
Halloween costumes?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my God,
Yes.
I just had a brain fart there.
Yeah.
Quilting is also huge.
Yep.
I know there's a big convention down in Mazatlan, Mexico. They have an international quilting conference, like 3 days in March, every year.
I just had a vision of what Bob's next picture series is going to be.
Halloween.
It's going to be all these women with crocheted
Cosplay
bikinis.
knitting, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The sexy nurse crocheted costume.
can I just say, it's been 5 years. We're officially old. This is like the most boring digression we've ever had. Like, this is
We're talking about
classic
knitting and
digression.
crocheting.
We're like, knitting. Knitting. Knitting is so hot right now.
Yeah,
Well, we did talk about
say,
porn.
I did say that it was crocheted bikinis.
Yeah.
That's boring.
That's boring, yeah.
You can do some pretty awesome crocheting.
How about those crocheted underwear for men? Remember, do you see those? It's like, holy fuck.
God,
That
was a bad meme.
The crocheted shorts. Or was that macrame?
It might have been macrame, I don't know. It's like, holy fuck. Like, who the hell would wear those?
We're crocheting pumpkins this week.
Marcel's dying.
I'm in the wrong group.
Marcel's like, when the fuck did I get to the old folks home?
I thought if I made the joke, we would like end the digression. But then it's like, no, dude, we're gonna do this for like half an hour.
Well, remember we did the chocolate show, Andrew? And we came. So we're gonna talk about your
Hey,
chocolate
actually,
for like
you know
a couple
what?
of
You know what?
minutes, if you give us some free chocolate.
Marcel at
Were
the
you in
beginning.
that one?
No, Marcel before the episode we started recording. Marcel said that everybody should say what their favorite bunker memory was.
Oh, that's a good idea.
that chocolate one would be one of mine.
Yeah.
That one was.
It was like 45
awesome.
minutes talking
and
about
you know
chocolate.
what? I should have got a clip from that to play it because that was hilarious. So Tommy was at that one, and
we freaked out.
And I remember, so Bob went and saw this lady. What was the name of the business?
XOXOXO, which
is
chocolate in
Mayan.
Mayan
chocolate, and her chocolate was awesome. Yeah, she moved to Yaletown, I think.
Yep.
And
she had the
so Bob went
breakfast.
there and said that we're doing a podcast and blah blah blah, and she gave us like
a lot of goddamn
boxes
chocolate.
and boxes of this chocolate.
But this
and
is custom chocolate. It wasn't just like, here, have it, Henry. It was like all custom.
No, yeah.
Beautiful.
So we were trying all these different chocolates, and one of them was maple syrup bacon chocolate.
Oh, yes.
And one was spicy red pepper.
Jalapeno one and a pepper one.
Cayenne and chocolate
Orange.
is really, really good together. Holy shit.
I mean, the flavors and everything like mixed together was awesome. And just like that episode, if you go back and listen to it, I can't remember the number. I'll put it in the show notes. But it's just us for an hour going, oh my God, this is so good.
It's so weird.
Unbelievable.
Holy
shit. Tommy was like, she was like, oh, so good. Do you remember?
I can't remember, but I remember the chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
that
good.
episode, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
All the tastes. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite?
Get on the mic.
My favorite chocolate?
No. Your tape.
You weren't there for that episode. That was an early episode.
What was your favorite bunker show?
All right, I wrote some stuff down.
Oh, here it comes, yeah.
Oh my God, he made
Just
notes.
Or paragraph 3.
Just in case
we
we're
did a
going
lot
to
of
ask
crazy
that question.
bullshit. All right. So just in no particular order, and I'll do the Cliff Notes version.
The Academy Award goes to
Okay.
myself.
Bob's meltdown about moving to Japan.
Wait a minute. Moving where?
Off the mixer.
Everybody, when Bob, he just went off the deep end about moving to Japan, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is so dark. And I was like, "No, this is engaging. It's fun." Everyone was like,
Oh,
Marcel,
no,
this is really dark."
Wasn't that when
That
it
was
kind of ended?
That was the show that was titled "Vancouver is Bullshit."
Oh, right.
Now, on topic with that, I do think there was that book that was published, Social Media is Bullshit, right? Yeah. And, then there were actual ideas with that book. But what we did is we read the title, and we got really angry.
No. That's what you guys did. Bob and I were actually into the book.
Yeah, but we spent like 2 episodes pretty much like yelling and screaming about the title of this book, which, in retrospect, not a good look.
Yeah, but then we have to.
But the title was true.
We have to take a step. We have to, as you say, unpack this one, because the first episode we talked about the book. The second episode we got a big email or feedback from the author of the book, and that inflamed Bonnie because he called out was it Brian Solis? Called out Brian Solis as a fraud, and he's not an influencer and he's a fraud and all this, and Bonnie's like,
That's great. Yeah. You are very dramatic.
5 years removed, fraud or influencer?
Brian Solis?
No.
hey, pass the microphone.
Still an
Influencer, still.
Cool, just got to check. It's been a long time.
And we've never heard of that author
Who's the other?
again.
Who was the author of that
Arrest
book?
my-
Actually, no. I saw him on
Social media is
he's,
bullshit.
Well, the last time I heard from him before, just recently, was he was going back to school to be a college youth counselor.
I arrest my
Actually,
Yeah, I know. That pretty much says it all.
Actually, he's actually making a comic book about a female superhero. His name was B.J. Mendelsohn. He's still my friend on Twitter and
Yeah, me
Facebook.
too. Me too. I still.
So it's quite funny. He posts a lot of interesting stuff on Instagram too.
Never trust somebody with the initials.
Well,
BJ.
first of all, he's a huge pro wrestling fan.
Oh yeah, wrestling too. He does some wrestling.
And he's
podcasts,
a
so-
comic. He's a comic too. So like you have to take everything he says.
It's bullshit.
With a word.
We had a comic once, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a
Yeah,
guy
there was
that
a
came
comic,
with comics. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a comic. I wasn't here for that episode. I was in.
Anyway,
Joe.
Marcel.
Cool. And that's kind of why I found it funny, because this is a guy with, like, he's got a sense of humor, and we were being very unironic about how angry we were with him.
Okay,
one more. When Matt Astafan came on the show, and he brought a friend, and his friend was this lawyer guy who was wearing the brightest
Andre.
suit.
Andre, yeah.
Like, pretty much
the trademark
Saul
guy.
Goodman, but real. And it's like this Matt Astafan fellow, he's got all these followers on social media, we got to take him so seriously, and the one friend he brings is like the shammiest looking lawyer that I've ever seen in my life. It's like someone out of TV, and it was hilarious. And I think I got more of a kick out of it than anyone else. But
No,
he
that's
was
Andrew, the trademark lawyer. He specializes in some trademarks.
oh God, he's still a thing. Is he going to be mad at me? Oh, he's going to sue me.
No, he's not.
No.
He stepped away from being a lawyer.
I mean, interesting suits.
He still does trademarks.
Yeah, I know, but he's just automated it.
Yeah.
He's got a company. He's not a lawyer anymore, but he does. He's got the company's trademark factory.
Is Matt Astafan still around?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Sure.
Talk about fraud.
Should I edit that out?
Did I say that out loud?
Randall, he's got a good lawyer, so you got to watch out.
Well, a trademark lawyer. Margaret would agree with me on that one.
All right, I got one more. It's the last one. And this is slightly more serious, but like honestly, my favorite thing about the bunker was just the tiny little community that it engendered, and it was fun to like show up early and drink and eat and be merry. It was fun to stay after the show and drink and eat and be merry, and there was like a good period of time where like we were all bros and it was super cool.
It's always nice to meet other crazy people.
We love you too, Marcel. It was good times, and it usually ended at my house if it was a really good bunker show because we drank way too much and then we drink way too much later. So, but it was always informational.
Especially when you can drink 8 beers and pay for 3.
All right, who's got a favorite show?
I got a couple.
Okay.
So a couple for me is once I came in costume because it was Halloween. I think I scared Astrid because I was that Dark Lord and she didn't know who I was. I didn't tell her for the whole show, and then she didn't know. But she finally, we finally let her in at the end.
As soon as you said, "I'm Paul the Rock Guy."
Yeah, I guess she got that after I introduced myself. The second one was when I got out of Bonnie her secret to get Twitter followers. It took years, and then I kept asking because I was on Twitter, and then she finally gave it up in one of our episodes. Which I don't remember the number, but
but she gave it up a lot of times after that.
Oh,
it was the once she gave it up, it came out in a lot of episodes.
It was, of course, buying Russian robots. That's what it was. Yes.
And I was ahead of my time.
She knew Vlad before anybody else did.
Okay, what's another episode everybody loved?
Well, I'm going to think back to probably the first episode of the Bunker Project for me, and that's when I think James brought the social media club there. We had been told we would basically just watch what was going on with these beautiful, beautiful seats set just to the back, but no, not at the Bunker Project. I think you put that mic in front of every single one, including the ones that were trying to hide under the chair.
Yeah, that's right. That was one of, at that time, that was our record attendance.
It was like 22 people?
26 people were there.
Yeah.
And
we mic'd all of them.
Yeah, that was a good...
Fuck, do you remember that?
No, and that was my first show, and I didn't really know what it was. So I was just like, oh, wow, these guys run a real thing? This is amazing. And then I showed up the next week, and I was like, oh, it's just these people. All those other people were just kind of dropped. Okay.
You know what I remember most is remember when Marcel first joined, and he was very shy and very quiet. But then he'd start coming out with these little witty quips. Now it's like, can't get him to shut up.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's just what happens when you get to know me. Yeah, it took a while for the microphone to get to know me, and now it's just, I'm sorry, it's mine.
He was great as a co-host.
Yeah, he was.
Get wound up and say, okay.
It was funny because I used to work with Marcel at TAC Mobility, and then that's how he got into the bunker, and then he started, just like Margaret said, he was kind of mic shy, and then all of a sudden he's got his own podcast with Bob.
That's like a lot of us introverted extroverts, right?
Mm-hmm. So I got a favorite show if anybody wants to hear.
Yeah, we want to hear.
Well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely the one that kind of encapsulates exactly what we were trying to do.
Oh, I know which one it was. It was the one where I had the big eyebrows.
You always have big eyebrows.
Well, he always had big eyebrows. But the one that was really interesting was when the riot of the Stanley Cup happened and we were actually doing the show.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, and then the bartender came in and said the police. Said
Yeah, we couldn't go outside. We were locked in.
So I was walking. I walked. We packed everything up, and I was walking back with Eric, and Eric's from Israel, right? And so we're walking along, and there's like a couple overthrown cars, and the police are wearing riot gear and gas masks, and there's all these people
Bob was
acting
taking
like
pictures.
idiots, and there's smoke everywhere, and it literally looked like a war zone. And I turned to Eric and I said, "Wow, it's like a war zone." And he just laughed and he said, "That's cute." Because he's from Israel, so he's like,
he didn't know what a war zone
fuck
was.
do you know about a war zone?
That's
This isn't a
pretty cool.
war
I've
zone.
forgotten about that.
And then Bob left that episode, and he went around and filmed this awesome video about all the carnage that happened, and it was he had this really cool soundtrack on the back, and it was good.
It was a pretty interesting show, especially because we had like text messages coming in.
Show.
Actually, remember that show we did when we went to the the social media club came to the bunker, but remember when we went to them?
The social media club, yeah.
We went to them at the on Granville Street. What was that?
Oh,
bar?
in that club.
In the bar.
In the bar.
And we were there with Bosco and
I think I was there with Basil too.
The social media. No, let's go to the social media club.
It was a social media club.
Yeah, it was a social
bar was
media
called the
club
social media
meetup.
club?
Oh, the bar.
Because I meant
New Orleans themed one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool.
it was a New Orleans themed bar.
It's now a strip club called the Gravel Strip.
Ah, so it's upgraded.
There's a new strip club in Vancouver. I thought they were shutting them all down.
That's kind of old school strip clubs.
Unsure.
Somebody must have started a good podcast.
Maybe.
Anyways,
That
yeah,
was an awesome
that
place
was
for
that was a good episode because we were upstairs in the balcony there, and we had the mixer and everything, and then Margaret and Bonnie and James, I think, was on a panel.
Yep.
And we recorded the whole. The DJ fed his audio into our mixer, and we recorded that. And we had in between we had interviews of people that would come up and get on the show and stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was really good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It seemed like all the shows were relatively the same to me because I always did them at home.
Well, no, at first you showed up. You were showing up for a while.
Oh yeah, I did show up for the first couple. Yeah,
You came for about I think 7 or 8 episodes, and then all of a sudden you saw a couple. Yeah. You saw Craig Griffiths from Australia.
That's
You saw him on a Google Hangout, and you were like,
well, wait a
why
minute.
the hell can't I do
out
that?
here? Why can't I do that?
Twassen is almost as far away as Australia.
Might as well have been.
Ken was like, I want to be an agoraphobe now.
Yeah, really.
But Ken, some of the best parts of the bunker were the after bunker.
Yeah, there was some good
That's
parties
true.
after bunker.
Yeah, but he had his own after bunker.
Well, remember that time we were doing?
He went to bed.
Well, we all our Google Hangouts were open, and we had some people from Japan pop in.
Right.
That was a
Japanese
crazy one
freaked
because
them out.
Bob was talking in Japanese half the episode.
Oh yeah.
And I only know like 3 sentences, so I was just like,
I know konnichiwa.
Yeah. I totally put them away.
Domo arigato gomashite.
Not even close.
No, I know, but it's kind of what I know.
Okay, any other favorite podcast shows? Ken?
Where was that one with that the hot muscular guy from the States?
Oh yeah,
yes.
that was so awesome.
Margaret remembered that. Me too.
So
The
there's a
XMR
backstory on that one. So I was taking the SkyTrain to work, and I'm sitting in the SkyTrain, and I'm listening to the Art of Podcasting, which was a podcast that was at that time still running episodes. And so the guy's talking, and he's like, yeah, and he's got a radio voice, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to the boys at the Bunker Project. This is a show. It's a really interesting concept. They have a physical meetup where people come into the show or come in every week, and they sit down and they drink beer and they do a podcast. And I think it's an incredible concept, and I think we're going to see more of that in the future. And blah blah blah. So a big shout out to Andrew and Bob and everybody at the Bunker Project. And then so I'm sitting there like, because this is a podcast I listen to, and all of a sudden he's talking about us. And then so I contacted him and I said, hey, if you're ever up here, come join us. And he said, I will. And then he came. And so he came and he did a couple. He brought his own mic, and actually he brought his own RE320, and he heard from listening to the podcast that I was wanting to buy the Heil PR40. Yeah. So he brought his spare Heil PR40 for me to try out. And so I did. Then I ordered it through his affiliate link. Yeah.
Yeah, Bonnie and I were fangirling over his butt.
And then there was the DJ, Chad, the DJ.
Oh, yes.
DJ Lefty.
DJ Lefty, because he's deaf in one ear. That's why it's called. He's deaf in his left ear. So, and he came on one episode. Bob wasn't there for that one. And he brought all his gear and he plugged it in the mixer and he did his DJing.
Yeah, I remember that.
He did his,
just a quiet.
You were at home from that. You were on a hangout for that one.
Okay, yeah.
And so
Very
he
cool.
came on, and.
Did you lock her in?
Oh yeah.
We're locked in here. We can't get out unless Bob lets us out.
So that was a good episode too.
It's going to be a sauce episode now.
Oh. Do you want to play a game?
Bonnie, what's your favorite episode?
All of them.
All of them? So the first episode Bonnie came to, we weren't even at the bunker, right?
No, we weren't.
We were at the St. Regis when you came.
Oh, I remember that place.
Yeah.
So, and then...
I don't remember that episode.
Yeah,
but
that episode, Alan Knight was there. I remember that.
Yep.
And... There was a few other new people there too, but I remember I knew you from before because you were at the podcasting. I met you at Scott Patton's podcasting boot camp
in New West ages ago.
Yeah. So then you were there for that, and then I don't think you missed an episode after.
No, I think it was pretty much addicted.
I learned about it from Eric's Wix meetup.
Oh.
That's how I found out about it, and I think you were there as well, and we got talking about it, and I came, and remember the first time they were setting up, and they were doing something, I was goofing around, and Bonnie's like, insurance people have a sense of humor.
That's right, because Bob and I came to the Wix meetup, and we did a podcast on podcasting 101.
See, and I learned about it from Margaret from the meetup that you used to do in New West. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's how I found out about Bunker Project as well, through a meetup.
Oh.
I found out about it by Andrew telling me to come to the Bunker Project every day for about 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah, and finally he came. Finally.
I think Bob invited him.
Then we couldn't get rid of him after that.
So it's his fault.
Sometimes it's hard to get rid of any of us, isn't it?
I apologize, not.
No. This is the best fun I've ever had.
It was always great whenever I went.
How many meetups have you been to where 5 years later you can get together and have a good turnout, and really we basically have picked up where we left off?
Yep, that's about it, except for the knitting thing, but other than that...
yeah. Well, not all of us can be as cool as you, Bonnie.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have 130,000 stitches?
No.
No. Oh.
I was really hoping Andrew was going to be able to say that he had the analytics of the most listened to Bunker Project episodes. But I doubt it.
I can get that. But
I still think We Are Bunker Bitches is a pretty funny episode. Or any of one of my favorite episodes is when Andrew let me co-host with Bob without Bob being there. And I did an impression of Bob, and I don't know if Bob ever heard the episode where I did his impression of him at the start of the show. Because you had nasal surgery or something before that episode, Bob.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is Bob Garlick here, and welcome to the Bunker Project." And I think I talked like that for 20 minutes till my voice wouldn't do it anymore. And it was a labor of love.
You also did the Kermit the Frog, which was great.
Kermit the Frog, yeah. I like phoning in from Maui for the Santa Claus episode for Astrid, but I don't think she's in the room right now. But
she's here.
That was pretty funny as well. That was a pretty good episode. Or Kermit the Frog, or Cookie Monster. I also liked any episode with Gaming with James. But
hey, speaking of Gaming with James, Gaming with James.
Oh my God!
All right,
5 years later, holy shit!
So what's new with games, James?
Oh my God, what has happened to games? Games are so broken now. We have these things called loot boxes. There's nobody buying physical copies anymore. Gaming has completely turned a corner. And you know what? We talked about this over 6 years ago, and we saw it coming. So if you were listening 6 years ago, you're probably making lots of money right now. And I should have listened to my own advice. But other than that, Mario Kart just came out. And it did 90 million downloads in the first day.
Holy smokes! Hey,
Yeah,
I saw there was a new kind of a throwback to the Commodore 64, the C64, and it looks just like it, and it's got preloaded all the games.
It does. We're in the age of retro where there's you can get the old classic Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, a Sega Genesis.
I almost want to buy that one. That was my first computer, and I saw that Attack of the Mutant Camels is included.
Yeah, it's hilarious how the old stuff has all become new again. It's like we don't want to make anything new.
You know how much time I spent playing Attack of the Mutant Camels?
How much time, Andrew?
It was almost as much time as it took for the tape to load the game.
What's a tape?
Yeah, what's a tape?
I had a Commodore 64 before there was the floppy drive. Or
God!
Or maybe we just
I used to load programs with a tape as well.
With a tape player. So I had the Attack of the Mutant Camels on cassette, and I would put it in there, and then there would just be this little screen with this progress bar, and it would take like half an hour to load the game.
Yeah.
And it only had 2 colors. Right?
Yeah, and then Star Wars ripped it off by turning it into the AT-AT game.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So you've got those old consoles coming out. We've got Fortnite, which is a big deal.
A 16-year-old winning $3 million playing Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean, like, who would have thought video games being able to make you money for playing them? Well, actually, we did. If you listen to our old episodes, we did claim that was going to happen.
It's kind of funny the way the guys that like watching football going, what the hell are these people doing watching people playing a game? It's like, you want to listen to what you're saying?
Angry Birds has had 2 movies since the Bunker Project has left. One of the top movies of last year was Detective Pikachu.
Oh, God, yeah. That's because of Ryan Reynolds, though.
And Randall was the first in line to see it in Canada.
Not really.
No.
I've watched it I think it's on Netflix. I think it was.
It should be.
No, I watched it somewhere. I don't know.
You illegally streamed it.
On demand.
Yeah. But gaming has definitely taken over the world.
So if little kids play games, does it like fry their brain?
What was that?
Little kids.
Little kids playing games?
Does it fry their brain?
I don't know, man. You look at the cognitive abilities of these like young people playing esports and stuff. It's nuts. Man, the coordination with their brains and their hands and their eyes and shit. I can't do that shit. None of us can do that shit. So I don't think it scrambles brains. It teaches shit like how to hit buttons real fast.
Well, actually, there was an interesting study that was done recently that said that 85% of doctors that performed virtual surgery before actually doing their practicums in actual performance were actually better at the surgery than people that just use it from the books. So I think we're going to see a lot more AR and VR stuff that will lead to...
It's kind of like visualization, but instead of just visualizing, you're actually...
Yeah, they're actually going through it. There was a game called...
without killing somebody.
Lungy X, and it's really good, and you can play it on your mobile phone, and it's inoculating somebody in the chest cavity for a tube. And you can earn credits for it for playing a game. So
I mean, you look at airlines; they've been doing simulations for since the 70s to train pilots. So I mean, it makes sense for doctors and all sorts of stuff to do simulations. I mean, it's better to kill a simulated patient than a real one.
It's also cheaper, way cheaper.
No lawsuits, at least.
Kill a simulated patient than a real one.
Cool. And what about VR games?
It's amazing. They just said that Beat Saber has become the first platinum-selling VR game, which is quite Facebook just announced that they're going to do Facebook Horizon.
Cool. Cool.
Which is?
It's going to be a virtual reality world where you can take your Facebook avatar into and play video games in VR with their Oculus system.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It should be out in 2020. We've got HoloLens coming up now, and the Vive itself is going to have hand tracking in the next year, so you won't even have to use those weird VR controllers anymore, and it's also going to be no longer tethered. So, yeah, we're getting pretty close here to,
I would think that like a game like Halo would be a perfect VR game, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, in a sense, we did make a shooting game in VR, and there were quite a few things that I learned just from making that game that I think that we'll see in the future that we'll get better at. Movement still in VR is still tough with people's brain, which can cause motion sickness and things like that. But as we get more exposed to it and spending longer times, it feels better and might be good.
Are we going to have people just walk around with these headsets on, bumping into us? It's bad enough on the streets for cell phones.
Well, I think that we'll have augmented reality kicking in, and I think there will be some stuff. And I think there's actually going to be a big divide between people that are heavily into the technology and people that will be against the technology. I think we're starting to see that with the social media aspect and people deleting their Facebook accounts and wanting to delete all their, Google today just announced they have a self-destruct button for your data after you've passed on or whenever you want to push it now. So, we might have people walking around with VR headsets, but they'll be able to see us. They'll be augmented.
Like a HUD display.
Now, James, I would like a hot take on my favorite game, Yahtzee.
Yeah, so Yahtzee's a pretty sweet game. It's always going to be a sweet game. I don't like Yahtzee World Tour. I feel it's very random, and I don't enjoy it. So up yours, Milton or Hasbro.
Milton Bradley? Is that who you're thinking?
Well, Milton Bradley, I guess. Yeah, I guess that is the original parent company, but I guess Hasbro owns it now. But
I think so.
I actually did try to get a job with the company making Yahtzee, the mobile game, but they passed on me because they didn't think I was cool enough. So you missed out, bud.
You got to be super cool to be Yahtzee.
You forgot to put the Bunker Project on your resume, James.
Well, apparently, like on the Bunker Project, anytime I mouth off a video game company, they hire me. So screw you, EA. Screw you, Ubisoft.
So you mouthed off.
You did say that out loud,
Yeah, I did say that out loud, but it's funny, Ken, because if you go back and listen, I was mouthing off about Zynga, and I got hired to go to work in India working for Zynga. So how funny is that? Somebody was listening to us at some point. So
they probably figure, well, if he's brave enough to tell us to fuck off, he must be worth hiring.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny too. Like everybody hates on EA these days. It's like the biggest thing to kick them when they're down, and I can't believe how not maybe video game players, but just public in general, it seems like we just want to smash on whatever we don't like these days. And I think that what Andrew was talking about earlier about making more positivity in the world might be a good thing. Just because I disagree with you or I don't like what's going on doesn't mean that I have to hate on you. And it doesn't mean that we have to hate on that in particular.
But it's the easy thing to do, right? It's the easy thing.
Yeah, we can have a debate. We can discuss. We can have different opinions, but we don't have to say, you're the worst person in the world and I hope you die in a fire.
We can agree to disagree, but
we're trying to make entertainment. Yeah, and in video games and movies and stuff, we're just trying to create entertainment. And if you don't like the entertainment, you don't have to buy it. You just
I think that's the problem today is instead of people okay, you don't like it, just scroll the fuck past it, ignore it. Who cares?
There are things we.
But some people thrive on.
Well,
conflict,
they do,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I find interesting is whenever there's two sides of the coin these days, it's always like, you're on that side, I hate you. You're on that side, I hate you. And there's all these people commenting like, oh, go kill yourself, die in a fire. But it's like, how come none of the people that are commenting have any consequences? So it's like the people that say, butter their bread wrong on a YouTube video and make everybody angry, that's fine. But the people that go in the comment section and say, you should kill yourself because I prefer crunchy peanut butter, that's okay. Like, I don't understand. That is all.
Right.
Yeah, no,
I haven't heard that in a long time.
But then people get banned from YouTube for saying anything,
saying nasty things.
Learn to code. Hashtag learn to code and
yeah.
banned.
Well, I think one thing too is like I think we need to learn more to agree to disagree. It's like, I don't like what you're saying, and I don't think you should say it. But at the same time, it's like, you can say it. But, everybody talks about free speech and goes on and on and on about it's free speech, it's free speech. Well, yeah, it's free speech. You can say what you want. There's still consequences, right?
Yeah, you'll get punched in the face. It's fine.
Well, you can't say, you can't call a black person the N-word. It's like, there's consequences for saying that. There's consequences for all sorts of things. And that's the whole problem is that,
But there's a difference between having an opinion and then hate speech and whatnot, right?
Well, I think it all needs to be respectful, but also too often when it becomes to abusive comments, misogynistic comments, racist comments, hater comments, sometimes it needs to be, okay, that's not cool. You don't get nasty with them, but I think if you don't say something, then you condone the behavior.
Yeah.
So I think we need to call them out diplomatically. It's like, yeah, that's not cool. That's not that's not.
But where's the line though? Because sometimes comedians say things that are they're trying to be funny.
Comedians are trying to instigate. No, I'm not talking about comedians. I'm talking about if someone says, it's like a very misogynistic point about something. It's like, okay, that's not right. Like or like the old white politicians calling out Greta. And calling her a little spoiled brat.
I was wondering if she was going to come up in this episode.
It's like, be respectful. Or the complete fucking ass who said, well, if she's old enough to make this comment, she's old enough to be raped. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I like how she took Trump's tweet and made it her profile.
How about Putin? She took Putin's tweet and turned it into her bio profile. That was hilarious. I mean... Huh? No, she did it with Putin too. Yeah.
Well, do you think that she really, it's her, or she's got a handler or somebody doing it for her? You see, I don't find her genuine.
Yeah, I think it's her, and it's also probably a bit of a handling.
She started out
but
last
I think
year herself, and she was the only person that did it.
Yeah.
That was her.
Give her the mic.
Yeah, like last year she was the only student that did this. She started this. This is her fight. I mean, she's got parents that are obviously going to approve and let her travel. This is her message. This has been passionate from her from over a year ago. So, it's like
of her, just her alone.
Yeah, just her alone was protesting last year, and it's turned into this. And I think it's awesome that she has the guts and the audacity to call them out on their bullshit and say, yeah, how dare you?
Yeah, and if you have if you disagree with whatever, you can say, well, here's why I think the science is wrong or whatever, if you want to take the 3% side.
When you start dissing her personally, you've lost the argument. You have no argument against what she's saying. That's part of the problem.
Well, because that's all you have left.
That's all you have left. It's like, so they start dissing her and calling her mentally ill and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay.
They criticize her for having Alzheimer's, and she said,
Asperger's,
no, that's my
superpower.
That's
her superpower. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you can disagree with the science, you can disagree with other things if you have opposite opinions, but the moment you start trashing somebody personally, you are just a fucked up twat. I'm sorry, but you are. Like, you have no argument. Your argument is just mute now. It's like, you need to... It's like anything. You can hate Trudeau all much as you want, but why do you hate him?
But aren't a lot of those trolls...
But they're trolls. I mean, they're Russian trolls.
They aren't even
Russian
people.
Trolls,
trolls and Russian trolls, Chinese trolls. Like, there's so many bots.
But they're not people. They're some machine.
The interesting thing is when the blackface came out, I'm going to go there, but it was like the only people that were promoting it on my YouTube channel, on my Facebook page, were the news feeds.
Yep.
No people I knew were promoting that.
That's right.
It was only the news feed. Only the news feed.
Yeah, and the first time I saw it, like with the brown face, and he was dressed as I don't understand what the big deal is. Like when we were kids, there were a lot of my friends dressed up as Native Americans and the headgear and all that. And I know that's disrespectful now, but back then it wasn't.
Well, and cowboys and Indians. How many of us played that?
Well, it's because you didn't know any better, though. That was the difference. It was the educational aspect.
Is it, or what about people that dress up as police officers now? Is that disrespecting police officers?
I dressed up as a pirate last year. Was that appropriation? Anyway,
how about the sexy nurse? Is that's disrespectful?
That's disrespectful, I think. But anyway, interestingly enough, so a coworker I work with, her husband's Irish. So he was new to Canada a few years ago and showed up at work on Halloween wearing blackface, because in Ireland it's not a big deal.
Right.
He learned, do that in Canada. But it's funny, when they were out and there was another Irish guy also in blackface, he goes, I found that out too. But in Ireland, not a big deal. Yeah. So, it's like they didn't do it as a disrespect. It was just as a costume.
But most of social media these days isn't ordinary people who are who are putting forth their own views. Or if they are, you've been bombarded for the last 2 days or 2 weeks by what someone wants you to think. And it's very, very difficult to figure out if that's your thought. Did you arrive there? Or is someone putting something
in your head,
into your head? I mean, individual thought is difficult. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to ignore all news media and social media, or dig in there and try to find out. I don't agree that turning off Facebook and Twitter and all of that, because you wouldn't know what's going on.
Well, it's like all these people, like banning all these people from Twitter and social media and stuff like that. Don't ban them, because they've shown who they really are. We need to know who they really are, because if we ban them, they're going to hide.
But if they're troll,
that's troll. That's one
10
thing.
more trolls show up.
So there are a lot of people that are trolls, and they're real people that are trolls that are just trying to inflame other people.
Right.
And then there's other people who are pushing agendas, and then there's people who flash mob to get people banned because they don't like what they're saying, so they flag their account, and that's been happening too.
So on that topic, though, has anyone actually heard Instagram is actually implementing, or at least they're testing, this thing called Restrict, which is a way that you can actually deal with the trolls that are out there on your accounts by simply, I think, swiping left or something close to that. I'd have to double check the article. You're going to give the control to the Instagram user, which will basically make sure that troll is secretly kept away from that account, and you can bring them back in. Very similar to things we've already seen on Facebook and such. But I think it's really interesting that the platforms themselves are recognizing how a troll can influence individuals and how to shut them up.
So it's almost like, instead of you don't like somebody, so you block them, right? This kind of sounds like an opposite block, where it's like, I don't like you, so you don't get to see me?
No, in this case, it's similar. It's similar. So basically, it's pretty simple. If somebody is trolling one of your posts, all you can do is keep that comment from showing up so everyone can't see it. We've seen it tons of times before. But the thing that I think is most interesting is the platforms themselves are giving more tools to people to deal with these things the way they feel that they need to.
Didn't YouTube have with YouTube you could, I don't do much YouTubing, but couldn't you block someone from commenting on your YouTube channel, but they didn't know they were blocked?
Yep.
So they could keep commenting, but they didn't know that nobody was seeing the comment?
So when they went on YouTube, would they see their comment, but nobody else
Yes.
would?
Yeah.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah, so then they keep seeing their comment, and so they keep doing it, but nobody else is seeing it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well,
because
yeah,
otherwise they
'cause-
just get inflamed.
Well, and generate 3 more accounts to because I mean trolls, it's unbelievable the crap that they spew in some of the live sessions. They got nothing to do with anything. It's
and the people that comment, and it's like, okay, this is irrelevant to what this post is about. Why the fuck are you commenting about that?
But by the time you do that, there's 9 others. So if you don't have an admin or 2 or 3 admins, depending on how popular your YouTube Live is, if you don't have them there working on it all the time, then you either shut off comments, which that's the reason that you're there is to be able to engage with people that are there, your fans. So you either turn it off, or you have 2 or 3 people who are fighting against these trolls all the time. Yeah. And I mean, that wouldn't be a very nice job. I don't know that I would. I'd want an awful lot of money for that.
Facebook and all these need to kind of add a "fuck you," instead
of a like.
Instead of a like, it's like "fuck you."
But if
it's
you're
the thumbs down, Randall.
Right, but if you're on one of these,
that's not strong enough.
Live, and there's quite thousands of people watching it. By the time you get a thought starting in your head, it's like 40 comments back.
Yeah, true.
There's no way that as anything other than a super administrator that you can respond. Plus the other thing, they're probably not even a real person. It's some sort of machine generated shit.
You almost need a bot to watch the bots. It's like, or to watch the comments.
I usually don't bother. I just turn the comments off if I'm...
I think the problem with a lot of it is that we just have gotten this, I'm offended culture, and it's like, so you're offended. Don't watch it. Don't worry about it. There's some things that's yes, that needs to be reported, and, when somebody's threatened to, you should go kill yourself or something like that, or threatening to kill somebody. But there does get to a point where it's just just ignore it.
But so you're watching something, Facebook Live. You're watching something that is of interest to you. Let's just say it was having to do with Canadian politics. And you want to have a conversation about it.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have any kind of reasonable conversation with someone when some troll is just spewing shit at 2 or 3 times. You can't even find the person that you wanted to have interaction with. Not even bad interaction. Something agree, or they spark something that makes you think and want to put out a comment.
No, when it's live, it's kind of hard to do that, right? Because it's live.
I did comment on something and a couple of times, and it started a conversation, and a troll came by and decided to go to my profile and picked up a whole bunch of different things off my profile and started insulting me with those.
Wow.
I mean, how can you get away from that? Finally, I just said, screw it. And I deleted everything I put on the post.
So you deleted your whole conversation.
Yeah. And that's what they tried. That's why they do it.
Just this troll just kept hammering me with all these shaming things, and it was just it wasn't worth continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
No, sometimes it does end up like that, right? Because there's some of these people that are just like, oh my God, you are so fucked up mentally that it's no point in talking to you. That's what happens with social media, I think, now, is that it's just not worth the conversation sometimes with some of these people. I mean, I people that have friends on Facebook, and I follow them now just so I can report their posts, to be brutally honest. Because some of the shit they post from Natural News and all this other crap, it's just like,
Natural News. Years ago I used to really like that site, and it's turned into bullshit. It's turned into a complete. Because back in the day, it wasn't bad, and then all of a sudden, when they started letting anybody write for the site, it became, and Mike Adams kind of turned into a
wingnut.
Wingnut, yeah. So, anyways,
cool.
It was cool.
So, hey, we're coming up around 2 hours.
Holy cow!
So I guess it's part 1 and 2. So, do you want to do a wrap, Andrew?
Yeah. So, how do we want to wrap it up? Do we want
see you in 5 years?
Bunker Project 2.0.
If the RSS feed still exists in 5 years, we'll do another show. All right. Bob, you want to take us out?
No. Hey, that's another show. Thank you, and good night.
All right, thanks for listening to another episode of The Bunker Project. This is 5 years coming. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again. Maybe sooner than 5 years, or maybe not.
There's I do.